Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of CSPN. Thank you so much for joining us. We're looking at stats games number 91 through 100, and holy cow, I cannot believe that we just passed game number 100. Thank you so much to all of you, all of the fans out there for watching. Seriously, this has been a labor of love for us here at Geek Cheese, and it's been a weird season. You know, when I started this project, Major League Baseball wasn't happening, and now it is, and it's still weird. So, you know, anything can happen. But I hope this is filling your kind of baseball gap. Kind of had scratched that itch a little bit. So let's take a look at our standings here. Like I said, after game number 100, and things are, you know, playing out pretty interesting. So, top of the Cheddar division, we have the Steamrollers, 12-9. Look at their run differential, plus 19 run differential here. I don't think that we could have said that at the beginning of the season. You know, they started off kind of rough, but they got good pitching. They got Schroeder and Hale, and they got some good pitchers on their staff. So definitely a team to watch out for. Then you have three teams there knotted up at 1.5 games back of the Rollers. You have the Grazers, Colonels, and Rampage. So that's have to keep an eye on that. You know, the Rampage actually won their last 2 games. So you saw them over the past 10 games here. They were 2-0. Steamrollers were actually 3-0 over the last few games. The Colonels were 3-1, and the Grazers were 1-2. The Strongmen also dropped 2 games. So a lot of play here for the Cheddar division, but really the division kind of just continues to be the way it is, the way it's laid out here. So Rollers on top, and honestly 12-9, that's a pretty darn good record for this team. So pretty interesting how that's playing out. In the Pepperjack division now, Olympians and Marauders tied at 12-7 apiece. Only 1 run between them, so in terms of run differential. So if it comes down to it, if there's a tie or something like that, that's where that's gonna play into effect. Interesting thing here is that the Warblers, over their past couple of games, let's see, the Warblers, we saw them quite a bit over the past 10 games, and they dropped all. They played 4 times. They dropped all 4 times, so they were 0-4. And that's why they are now 3 games back. You see the Feud and Fowls at 10-10, 2.5 games back from Marauders and Olympians there. So pretty darn interesting. The Olympians only played once and they lost. The Marauders played once, they lost. And I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, the Warblers lost as well. Lost big. We didn't get to see the Whalers play. We did not. So we didn't see the Whalers. We didn't see the Grazers. No, we did see the Grazers. We didn't see the Whalers, and we did see the Fowls actually this past 10 games. So Whalers and Fowls fans, don't worry, those games will be coming up. Now you see in terms of win-loss column, a lot of teams are right around 20, 21 games. So Rollers have 3 games left to play. The Grazers, the Colonels, and the Rampage all have 4 games left in the season. Strongmen, rather, have 5 games. Same thing, Olympians, Marauders, and Whalers also have 5 games. Fowls have 4 games left. And the Warblers are the kind of the standout. We must have seen them a lot more, and just how the schedule plays out. They only have 1 game left, so that's how the standings stack up. Let's take a look here at our teams and our team stats. Just to give you a brief overview. Again, looking at the Marauders here, Raina McLongthrope is just killing it this year. She's pretty much at the top. All right, 10 minutes in, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and we're gonna redo, reset. 5, 4. Yeah, 11 minutes in. Reset. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hello everyone, this is take number about 500 of this. Welcome to another episode of CSPN. We're looking at stats and standings, games number 91 through 100, and I can't believe we just passed game number 100, so thank you so much for tuning in, to all of the fans, all the support. This has been a labor of love for us here at Geek Cheese. When I first started this project, way back in, what I think it was March or beginning of April, started recording games, started putting together this league. Baseball was not happening, and Major League Baseball is not happening. Now it's here, and it's a little different and a little weird, so I'm hoping that the Cheese League is kind of scratching that baseball itch for you too. Honestly, anything can happen in MLB, so we are COVID safe here in the Cheese League though. So let's take a look here at the standings. Cheddar Division, Steamrollers on top, 12-9. Take a look at this run differential, 19. Pretty amazing. I didn't think that they would be there, especially how they started the season. But they got good pitching, which we will get to. Grazers, Colonels, and Rampage all knotted up at 10-10, and at 1.5 games back from the Rollers. So that is pretty darn interesting. Strongmen, 6-13. They're 5 games back, so negative 23 run differential. So unfortunately, Strongmen fans, next season. Just so there will always be next season. But stranger things have happened. Maybe not. Let's take a look at the Pepperjack division. Olympians and Marauders tied at 12-7 for the first place position in Pepperjack. You see the run differential there, 22 and 21, so only one run differentiates them. That's why the Olympians sit on top. The Feud and Fouls at 10-10, they're 2.5 games back, so that's pretty darn interesting. And look at their run differentials +3, so that's pretty interesting. You know, I think they've had some big homers, Kellen Moran, and a couple other folks, Schmidt possibly. I want to say Moran has kind of come up big for them lately. But that's pretty interesting. I think this is the first time the Fouls have been out of the fourth place spot in a while. Warblers have dropped to the 4th place spot now. They're 3 games back, and the Whalers, unfortunately, are 7-12 in the last place position there in the Pepperjack division. 5 games back, and negative 33 run differential, so they're actually faring even worse than the Strongmen, unfortunately. So you can see all the teams have played right around 20-21 games. Let's see, the Steamrollers, they have 3 games left. The Grazers, Colonels, and Rampage all have 4 games left in the schedule, and the Strongmen actually have 5 games left. In the Pepperjack division, the Olympians and Marauders have 5 games left. The Feud and Fouls have 4 games left. The Warblers are the only standout. You can see they've played 23 games so far. They only have 1 game left in the season to play. And then the Whalers have 5 games left. So we'll see how things happen. Things play out as we go throughout the rest of the season. Let me just kind of give you a rundown as to what has happened over the past 10 games. We actually didn't see the Whalers or the Feud and Fouls play at all the past 10 games, so apologize to Whalers and Fouls fans, but those games are coming up. Just how the schedule plays out. We actually saw the Grazers. They were 1-2 in the past 10 games. Played 3 times. The Colonels were 3-1 in the past 10 games, so they played quite well. Marauders were 0-1, as were the Olympians. Warblers, that is the biggest one. We saw them 4 times in the past 10 games, and they lost all 4 games. They actually lost against the Rampage. I'm looking at my notes. They lost against the Rampage, the Steamrollers. They lost against the Colonels and the Grazers as well. So they had a tough schedule the past 10 games. Strongmen dropped 2 games. Steamrollers 3-0. You know, they keep winning. They keep rolling right along. Rampage also 2-0. So, yeah, that Cheddar division is getting quite interesting. So between Rollers and the top 3 teams there, or the top 4 teams there, and I would say the top 2 teams in the Pepperjack division. I don't know how things are going to play out for the Fouls, but stranger things have happened. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at our league leaders. All right, in terms of batting average, Raina McLongthrope still sits atop in terms of batting average. 436. Miles Pruitt and Tony Austin up there as well. Actually, we got a couple of Rampage up there. Pruitt and Baker. Tucker Gentry makes an appearance as well. And then you see some Olympians there, Trickster and Bernal. And then look at the fouls down there. Lester and Moran. And actually, Moran leads the league in home runs. Ralph Briggs has had a lot of long balls lately for the Whalers, even though we didn't see them in the past 10 games. That still stands. You see Tucker Gentry there with some homers too. Jeffries. So a lot of people with 6 homers. Let's see if anybody can get to double digits. I don't know. We'll have to see. In terms of RBIs, look at this. This is where we see the Steamrollers coming up big. Banjo Crane, 22 RBIs. Austin there, Jeffries as well, Gentry. Neil Shaw, who used to be a league leader in RBIs, now not so much anymore. The Steamrollers are just so hot, you know. Marcos Lester up there too. Look at all the fouls actually in this RBI category. So, you know, they're starting to score a lot more runs. So they have, how many more games they have left? 4. So, like I said, stranger things have happened. In terms of on-base percentage, Raina McLongthrope again at the top. You see Tucker Gentry there as well, on top of on-base percentage, or slugging percentage, and then OBS as well. A lot of familiar names. Here's Annika Proctor up there in terms of slugging percentage, and actually on-base percentage as well too. So good to see her name up there for the Steamrollers. Trying to see any other standouts. Milana Gomez actually up there in slugging percentage. The strongman, that's the first strongman name we've seen up there. But you see a lot of the same names. A lot of people have been hot all year. You have your Lesters, your Austins, your Gentrys. Kyan Baker makes an appearance there too. Miles Pruitt's been pretty darn good for the Rampage all year as well. Hit leader is Tony Austin from the Grazers. Barneswell up there from the Warblers. I was going to say, I'm surprised Barneswell isn't up here any more Warblers players, because they're a pretty darn good hitting team. Just they don't score a lot of runs. They get the hits, but not a lot of run production. Kellen Moran up there as well, so it's pretty interesting. There's Esperanza and Justice Berg down here too for the Grazers. Let's see, extra base hits, you know, Pruitt up there as well, Gentry and Jeffries. Gangnam here on top of strikeouts, as well as Blake Ortiz, and then Julian Park. I think he's led the strikeout column all year. Same thing with Micah Gilmore's been up there. So that's definitely a list you don't want to be on. Nella McForsham's up there too. Pretty interesting. I know he does strike out quite a bit. Runs scored, we have Lester up top, Trickster Moran, the top 3. A pair of fouls up there, the top 3. Stolen bases, Ali. Actually, Langston Ali is kind of running away with the stolen base category. 4 atop of Raina McLongthrope. You know, power hitting or power hitting, contact hitting, whatever you want to say, great hitting, Raina McLongthrope. I'm surprised that she runs as much as she does. Jericho Dozen rolls up there as well. Jericho Dozen rolls. And then there's our caught stealings. Again, that's a list you don't want to be on. Pitching, we have Finley Oldham for the Olympians and Dainty Simon. Dainty Simon, I think he won his first out of the first 10 games maybe. He won the first 4 for the Rampage, and I don't think he's gotten a win since. He's just kind of been sitting up top there. And actually, he's gotten hit around quite a bit lately, so maybe his arm is a little tired here in the later part of the season. And then everybody else here, you see a lot of people knotted up at 3 wins. Names to definitely keep an eye on, I would say anybody from the Rollers and anybody from the Marauders. Harmony Sacred also is pretty darn good, but I would say watch the Rollers and Marauders, definitely Farley and definitely Hale. Those are the 2 big arms there I would keep my eye on. Oldham is kind of running away in terms of ERA too. 1.65, that's pretty darn good. Dickerson here for the Marauders with 5 saves as well. Feel free to pause the video if you want to check your favorite player stats, all that stuff too. In terms of whip, again, Oldham up there. Oldham's up here in pretty much every darn category. But we see some other familiar names here. Farley. Here's Bud Benetti. A good whip there from the Steamrollers. Clarissa Newman as well. Clarissa Newman actually has, I was just going to say, I think she has a lot of strikeouts. And Brock Farley and Jet Check and Jaime Woods all tied with 18 strikeouts. So that's the one positive spot for you Whalers fans out there. Their pitching staff, they build that around Clarissa Newman. Honestly, I think that they got a good team there. They got a good core. That's something to build off of. And then here's some additional stats: strikeouts per 9, walks per 9, strikeout to walk ratio. You guys can feel free to go through all of this. I'm going to give you the league leaders, though, so you guys can check out what's happening. We're going to hop into the teams, though. And first team that we're going to look at is the Marauders. And again, Raina McLongthorpe just on top. She's just dominating the league. She's just so good. You know, so good. Other bright spots here. You know, Tucker Gentry we talk about. Would like to see more production out of definitely two spots in their lineup, though. Fuller and Park. Those are two areas where they could really use some more. Actually, outfield in general, just use some help. But Tater Pepperonis is starting to hit a little bit better, starting to get more time in the hitting. So that's something good to keep your eye on. Would like a little bit better out of Chip Oliver too, but Farley and Yoft are pretty solid there. Same thing with Gordon. And Gordon's ERA is just filthy. So that is how the Marauders look. Let's take a gander here at the Olympians. Olympians, again, we have pretty good production here out of Trickster and out of Bernal. You know, I'm actually surprised, you know, as I dig into the stats and talk about these things with you guys. I don't go into the stats too often, but I'm really surprised at how many of these Olympians hitters, for as good as their team is, are hitting in the 200s. You know, you look at Marty Hull, 200, Mullins, 273. Now, Mullins has come up quite a bit. Spencer Panada has come up quite a bit. Shaw has dropped. He's hitting 293 now. Foul and Bowles, you know, you like to see more production out of that left side, left side of the infield too. So things to keep an eye on. You look at Zuniga and Evans, who don't even have a hit yet. I mean, they haven't played a lot. Evans has really been more of a defensive replacement. But I just get surprised at looking at these numbers that really being carried by the top of their order. You look at their pitching staff too. Finley Oldham's really their ace, and everybody else in here is, you know, it's looking rough. Let me look at my notes. Bobbert looked rough. He got roughed up the last game against the Rampage. Game number 99. That was the only game that they played, but so it's interesting. Once you get in their bullpen, they're looking a little bit better. So that's something to keep an eye on for them. But yeah, I think the Olympians are going to have a little more production out of their hitters to really make it, because as we just saw with the Marauders team is really hot and really good, very hot hitting team. So something fans of the Pepperjack division are going to have to keep their eye on. Let's take a look here at the Rampage. As I mentioned, the Rampage are 2-0 past 10 games. They played twice. Again, you know, a couple of players are really carrying this team. I say a couple of players. It's really like a handful of really hot-hitting players between Kellen Webb and Miles Pruitt's really hot. You have Kyan Baker, who's been hitting very well. Lucian Sparks and Parsons also hitting well. Valentino Chang's even improved his average quite a bit. So, you know, would love more production out of their catching spot. A lot of the catchers in the league just aren't hitting well. Marty Hull, pretty darn good. Milana Gomez, but not a lot of good hitting catchers in the league in general. Mikey Gilmore needs to stop striking out, and then you have Freddie as well, who needs to start hitting better. once you get down into their rotation, obviously Vicente Sims is pretty darn good for them. Kramer got the win last time too. Picked up his first. Oh no, he didn't pick up a win. I apologize. Kramer did not pick up the win last time. Taking a look at my notes. Where else did they play? They played somewhere. Oh, they played against the Olympians and against the Warblers. So two pretty good teams. They won both games. Jet Check actually picked up his first win. He pitched a pretty darn good game too. So he actually pitched a very good game. If you haven't watched game number 100, Jet Check pitched an absolute, I think, 2-out gem. So good things there. So stuff to keep an eye on. Like I said, Dainty Simon's starting to get roughed up a little bit. So something to think about, you Rampage fans out there. Let's take a look now at the Steamrollers. Now, this is a very interesting team to me because on paper, Steamrollers probably have the best pitching staff. We can argue about that. But, you know, they have a lot of strikeout pitchers in Schroeder and Hale, Benetti. Once it gets down to Pokemania, it's a little rough. But they just have a really, really good pitching staff. You can see the lower ERAs there for a lot of their starters. Well, lowish. But looking up and down their lineup, you know, not a lot of people are hitting above 300. Annika Proctor at 360. We have Shepard Pace at 367. He's been pretty hot all year. Hudson Hopkins has upped his average quite a bit. But other than that, you know, Rios and Miller have come off the bench. But, you know, look at their at-bats. They've done that many at-bats. So there's not a lot of, you know, it's pretty darn interesting. It's just timely hitting from the likes of Dozen Rolls or Crane, who's been a hot hitter lately. Chuck Roquette has been a hot hitter for them, certainly, and same thing with Johnston. So just timely hitting has really done it for the Steamrollers. That's why they've improved their run differential. So interesting stuff to keep an eye on. And yeah, so that's what's happening with the Rollers. I am still surprised at where they are. You know, 12-9. I would not have guessed that at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, I thought the Rampage and I thought the Grazers were going to run away with that division. But like I said, baseball is a strange game. Looking at the Strongmen, this is something that's a rough team. Strongmen fans out there, you know, there's always next season. A couple of highlights here, though. Hilldown and Corker hitting in the 300s, and also Langston Ali hitting well. A lot of stolen bases there, too. Again, we talked about that with Langston Ali. So, you know, love to see more production out of them. Like to see Tucker Bauer on base more. He's probably the best base stealer in the league. I think he's one of the only runners in the league with a stealer attribute. So, he just doesn't get on base a lot. So, things to consider. Their pitching staff has been roughed up all year, as their bullpen. So, those are things that we're gonna have to keep an eye on for next season, as we keep tabs on that team in the Cheddar division. Warblers, like I said, they dropped their last 4 games. So this is a team that, you know, if they really want to make the playoffs, well, they only have 1 game left. That's the rough thing about their schedules. They only have 1 game left. So they really need to win that game. So we'll see what happens with them. Barneswell's been absolutely on fire for them, which has been great. Kenna Watson's been hitting a lot better. So, you know, if they make the playoffs in an odd kind of scenario where they make the playoffs, and Barneswell and Johns and let's say G.D. Charles, who's hitting a little bit better, and Watson, you know, they make the playoffs, it'll be on the backs of those players. Their pitching staff has been decent all season. You see the ERA is kind of in the mid-range, so something to keep an eye on. But with 1 game left and just how the schedule plays out, it's a tough break for the Warblers. Tough break for Warblers fans. Whalers, another team in the basement there of the Pepperjack division, and another team that has really struggled to get anything going. Jose Sicily, actually, he might be the best hitting catcher in the league. You know, they only have one player, Cade Durham, hit 300, so above 300. Ralph Briggs has hit the long ball quite a bit lately. Serm White has dropped. Haven't really had a lot of production from McIntosh or Vargas, so it's a team that needs to hit a lot better. They have really, really good pitching in Newman. Downhill's pretty darn good. Even Sandoval's pretty good too. But they just haven't been able to get it done. You see their bullpen, their two people in the bullpen, Power Slide and Bang It, who've been really good for them. Pretty low, mid-range ERAs, but they're just hitting hasn't been there. So maybe in the off season they'll pick up. Maybe they'll pick up somebody. I'm thinking they could really use a good hitting outfielder. They could really use a good hitting shortstop too. So maybe in the off season they'll pick up somebody. We'll have to see how that's going to work out for them. Feud and Fowls now. Feud and Fowls have, we didn't see them play over the last 10 games, so they do have 4 games left in their schedule, I mentioned earlier, so things to look forward to over the next 4 games is really Kellen Moran continuing his hot streak. We definitely want to see Rod Slow hitting a little bit better, and maybe McForsham hitting a little bit better too. Lester's been hot for them, certainly. Wallace comes off the bench and hits home runs and gets timely hits. Those are things that we want to keep an eye on. We'll love to see Taylor Schmidt over the next 4 games really step it up. Same thing with Oliver Hanna. He's been kind of mid-range all year. Main thing for them, and main thing for you Feud and Fowls fans, is we gotta get your pitching in order. Their starting pitching is looking rough. You know, once you get into the bullpen, it's not much better. So runs, and get those pitchers a chance. That's what needs to happen over the next 4 games for these Fowls. Grazers now. Games the Grazers drop. They were 1-2 over the past 10 games. So for them, they have 4 more games left too. So over the next 4 games, things to watch out for them is just continue to hit, continue to, Austin, a lot of good players here. Berg, Yellow, Austin for sure, Esperanza, Torres, Sparks, Chirper. We'll love to see him hit a little bit better, but just continue their hot hitting. And again, it's all about run production for them. Hit, get a lot of runs, make it worth it for your pitching staff. Got a lot of good pitchers here in Osborne and in Dixon and Robertson too, or Robertson. Yeah, just make it worth it for them. Once you get into the bullpen, outside of Houndstooth, a little rough, but just make it worth it. Get those runs and give your pitchers a chance for these next 4 games. Who knows? That division, that Cheddar division, is so stacked up that it could be the Grazers, it could be the Rampage, it could be the Colonels that take it. Who knows? It could be the Steamrollers could just continue to just be hot and just continue to win games. So we'll have to see how it works out. Something to look forward to too for the Colonels, who are 3-1. Again, they're a pretty hot team right now. So Colonels, off the back of Aldo Davis, off the back of Gangnam, who's been hitting a lot better. And even Corbin Fry and Hendricks have been hitting a lot better too. Again, for them, give your pitchers a chance. Their pitching staff's pretty darn good. You got Harmony Sacred on the hill. You got a definite chance to win. Burdock's been pretty good as well. Their bullpen's been okay, I would say. We've seen a lot of Linguino and Dawson, and Park as well. So a lot more from Linguino and Dawson. I'm just looking at the games that they've played or that they've appeared in. Yeah, just a lot more of them for sure. So yeah, we want to see what happens with this team. Again, if you have Sacred on the hill, you have a good chance of winning, but you need to get her some run support, and that's going to be the make or break for this team. Over the next 4 games, we're actually back to the Marauders now. So let's go back to standings. So over the next 4 games for some of these teams, well, actually the next 10 games until we talk again, we'll see what the schedule looks like. But I want to keep an eye on how the Rollers do, the Grazers, Colonels, and Rampage as well. Strongmen, unfortunately, Strongmen and Whalers, unfortunately, I think they're kind of out of it at this point. So I would say even the Warblers, they're kind of out of it at this point as well. Only with 1 game left in their schedule, and that's again just how the schedule plays out. So we'll have to see what happens. If the Colonels or the Grazers get hot, except the Colonels 3-1 in the last 4 games, so if they continue that hot streak, they could run away with the division, the Cheddar division. If Steamrollers drop a couple of games, keep an eye on them. They have been so hot. I'm just looking at my notes from last time. Steamrollers actually won their last 5 games in a row that they've played. And I'm looking back at my notes even further. The Steamrollers have won their last 7 games in a row. That can't be right. That's what my notes say. Their last 7 games they've won in a row. That is just bananas. So they are hot. They are obviously hot, and we'll want to keep an eye on them because they might run away with the whole darn division. But that's how games number 91 through 100 looked. That's the stats and standings for you. Games 101 through 110 coming your way. We only have 2 more of these CSPN shows. Look at that. That's pretty wild. Thank you so much for watching your stats update here. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you like all the videos here in Cheese League Baseball, do follow us at Geek Cheese on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Twitter too, at Geek_Cheese for all your news and updates. And yeah, we will see you folks next time. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.